Welcome to this deep dive. Before we jump into the analysis today, I want to take just a quick moment to look right at you, the listener.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
I want to offer a warm divine blessing for your day and the week ahead. May your days be filled with purpose, and may you find clarity in your challenges, and just may peace and grace be with you in everything you do.
Absolutely.
We're so glad you're spending this time with us today.
It's a real privilege to be here. We have a remarkably layered text to explore today,
We really do.
one that requires us to look closely at the intersection of divine promises and just deeply human flaws.
Right. So we are focusing on Genesis chapter 25 today, and we're drawing our historical context and theological insights primarily from two great sources.
The Holman Study Bible and the NAA Study Bible.
Exactly. And our mission for this deep dive is to unpack a massive transitional moment in ancient history.
It really is the end of an era.
It is. We are looking at the end of Abraham's era specifically, and then the profoundly complex family dynamics of his descendants.
Which are messy, to say the least.
Very messy. And then, of course, the striking narrative of a priceless, world-changing legacy being traded away for literally a bowl of lentil soup.
This text bridges a crucial gap. I mean, it takes what could easily read as a dusty list of ancient genealogies and reveals a highly relatable human drama.
Right. You get intense sibling rivalry.
Yes, and blatant parental favoritism.
Oh, the favoritism is wild. And of course, the trap of instant gratification. So looking at the end of Abraham's life sets the stage for everything that follows.
It does.
We often think of the narrative neatly concluding with Abraham and Sarah, but the text details a significant final chapter.
It's a chapter a lot of people overlook.
Abraham takes another wife, Keturah.
Right. And the cultural context provided by the annotations is vital right here.
Tell us about that.
Well, Keturah is often referred to with the status of a concubine. In the ancient Near East, this was a specific legal and social standing.
Meaning she was a wife of secondary rank.
Exactly. Secondary compared to Sarah, who remained the primary wife of the covenant. But what stands out is just the sheer vitality of Abraham in his later years.
Oh yeah, he fathers 6 more sons with Keturah.
Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, Median, Ishbak, and Shua.
It's a whole new family. And when you look at the broader narrative arc, this serves as a direct partial fulfillment of the initial divine promise.
God told him his descendants would be as numerous as the stars.
Right. We tend to focus so heavily on the specific covenant line of Isaac that we kind of overlook the fact that Abraham literally became the father of multiple nations through these other sons.
That is a crucial observation. It demonstrates the expansive nature of the promises made to him. But managing that expansion presented a highly precarious situation for its legacy.
Because distributing an inheritance across multiple lineages of varying legal status is complex even today.
Oh yeah, it's a legal nightmare.
But Abraham handled it with aggressive strategy. The text outlines that he gave absolutely everything he owned, his primary wealth and the mantle of leadership, to Isaac.
But he didn't leave the sons of his concubines empty-handed.
No, he didn't. He gave them gifts, and then he specifically sent them east toward the Arabian Peninsula while he was still alive.
That geographic separation was a highly calculated protective measure.
To protect Isaac, right?
Exactly. Abraham was actively securing Isaac's lineage. By distributing those gifts and moving the other families away from Canaan, he was preventing future disputes over the primary inheritance and the promised land.
He was ensuring the covenant line would remain undisputed after his death. He basically tied up all the loose ends before his passing.
Which brings us to a remarkably poignant funeral scene.
Yes. Abraham dies at the age of 175. The text describes him as old and full of years.
A very fitting description.
And the detail that stands out in the historical notes is the reunion that takes place at the cave of Machpelah.
Isaac and Ishmael come together to bury their father,
Isaac, the son of the primary promise, and Ishmael, the son of the servant Hagar.
who had been sent away into the wilderness decades earlier.
Decades. And they stand together at the very same burial plot Abraham had purchased from the Hittites to bury Sarah.
It's a quiet moment of unity.
It really is. 2 brothers whose lives and lineages took wildly different trajectories just coming together.
It's a profound scene of resolution. And the narrative immediately follows this by taking a moment to honor Ishmael's lineage.
Right. The text specifically pauses to list the genealogy of Ishmael.
Noting his 12 sons who become princes of their tribes, they build settlements from Havilah to Shur near the border of Egypt.
So why does the narrative pause to give us the genealogy of Ishmael's 12 sons right after Abraham's funeral?
Because it's a direct acknowledgement of God's faithfulness to a previous promise.
Right. The promise to Hagar.
Exactly. Much earlier in Genesis, God promised Hagar that he would make a great nation of her son as well. And Ishmael lives to be 137 years old.
So the inclusion of his lineage shows that while the biblical narrative focuses intensely on Isaac, it doesn't ignore the breadth of the divine promises.
Or the unfolding history of the wider region.
So the patriarch is gone, and the focus officially shifts to Isaac's family line.
Introduced with the Hebrew word Toledath.
Meaning the generations or family history.
Right.
And immediately the narrative plunges us into a grueling period of waiting. Isaac is 40 years old when he marries Rebekah, but she remains barren.
And we know the immense cultural weight of having an heir in this ancient context.
But what really stands out is Isaac's reaction compared to his father's.
It is an excellent comparison. When faced with a similar delay, Abraham and Sarah attempted to engineer a human solution through Hagar.
They took matters into their own hands.
They did, but Isaac takes a completely different approach. He earnestly prays to the Lord on behalf of his wife.
And the text notes that the Lord hears him and Rebekah conceives.
But the timeline notes in the NAA Bible highlight something easily missed regarding that period of waiting.
Oh, the math here is crazy. So Isaac was 40 when they married.
Right.
He was 60 when the twins were born. That is a 20-year wait.
2 decades.
2 decades of praying and wondering if the covenantal promise was going to just stall completely on his watch.
The psychological weight of those 20 years cannot be overstated. It reinforces a recurring theme in these texts that divine timing rarely aligns with human urgency.
Never seems to.
No. And there is another layer to the chronology that grounds this narrative in a tangible reality.
Yeah, I hadn't considered the overlap in their lifespans until reviewing these specific annotations.
It's fascinating.
Abraham lived to be 175. Isaac was born when Abraham was 100, meaning Isaac was 75 when Abraham died.
Right.
So if the twins were born when Isaac was 60, that means Abraham lived to see his grandsons as teenagers.
He overlapped with Jacob and Esau for 15 years.
15 years. It just changes the texture of the history for me.
We definitely tend to read these accounts as isolated chapters, like Abraham's era ends, then Isaac's begins, then Jacob and Esau take the stage.
But history is deeply layered.
Exactly. The patriarch who journeyed from Ur and received the initial covenant was present for the childhood of the very grandsons who would eventually fracture the family.
And the arrival of those grandsons is anything but peaceful. We move right into a violent prenatal conflict.
The twins are literally physically fighting within Rebekah's womb.
She is in such distress that she seeks out divine revelation, asking, if it is to be this way, why is this happening to me?
Her inquiry results in a prophecy that sets the architectural framework for the rest of Genesis.
She is told that 2 nations are in her womb.
2 peoples divided from birth. One will be stronger than the other. But the paradigm-shifting element is the final line.
The older will serve the younger.
Yes.
Which is a complete inversion of how their society functioned.
A radical inversion. In the ancient Near East, primogeniture was the absolute organizing principle of society.
The firstborn gets everything.
The firstborn son held the rights to the bulk of the estate, the leadership of the clan, and the ultimate authority.
So for a divine prophecy to declare that the older would serve the younger,
it signals to the reader that the ensuing narrative will operate entirely outside of established human hierarchies.
The birth itself perfectly foreshadows their ultimate conflict. First out is the older brother, red and covered in hair like a garment.
He is named Esau.
And the Holman translation emphasizes his later nickname, Edom, which literally translates to red. He is characterized from his first breath as this earthy, rugged force.
And right behind him comes the younger brother, physically grasping Esau's heel.
Jacob.
Yes, Jacob. The Hebrew connotation here is critical. In their idiom, grasping the heel wasn't merely a description of the birth. It carried the meaning of a supplanter or a deceiver.
Someone who trips up another from behind to take their place.
Exactly. His character and his methodology are stamped on him from day one.
And as the boys grow, the contrast sharpens. Esau becomes a man of the field, a skilled hunter. Jacob is described as a quiet or simple man preferring to dwell in tents.
This is where we see the family dynamic curdle. You have a household cleanly divided by parental favoritism.
The worst kind of dynamic.
The text plainly states that Isaac loved Esau because he loved the wild game Esau hunted.
So it is an affection driven by physical appetite.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And Rebekah, conversely, loved Jacob.
How does a 20-year wait for a miracle pregnancy result in a household where the parents use the children as proxies for their own preferences?
It's tragic.
It ensures the brothers won't view each other as partners in a shared legacy, but as rivals fighting for limited resources and affection.
It is a devastating environmental factor. Rebekah likely kept the divine prophecy of Jacob's supremacy close to her heart, while Isaac favored the rugged firstborn who satisfied his immediate desires.
It's a volatile foundation that makes the next major event almost inevitable.
The famous trade.
Right. That toxic dynamic brings us to a moment that has echoed through history. The day Esau comes back from the fields.
He is completely exhausted and famished.
And he finds Jacob casually cooking a pot of red lentil stew. Esau demands it, saying, "Let me eat some of that red stuff."
An intensely primal reaction.
It really further cements his association with the name Edom.
Esau is operating entirely on impulse here. He is driven by his immediate, localized physical reality. He is hungry. He sees sustenance. He demands it.
While Jacob, living up to his name as the supplanter, views his brother's vulnerability not as a moment for familial care, but as a highly leveraged negotiating position.
Jacob demands the birthright in exchange for the meal.
To understand the gravity of this, we have to look closely at what Jacob was actually demanding. Trading an inheritance for a bowl of soup sounds absurd to a modern ear.
It does.
But the birthright in this ancient context carried immense weight.
Its value was foundational to their society. The birthright guaranteed a double portion of the family wealth and the position of patriarch upon the father's death.
But in this specific family, it was even more than that.
Exactly. In the lineage of Abraham and Isaac, the birthright meant inheriting the spiritual covenant. It meant being the designated line through which God's redemptive plan for humanity would unfold.
So Jacob was demanding the socioeconomic leadership of the family and the spiritual destiny of the clan.
And he demands it for a bowl of lentils.
Now, it is easy to assume this was just a dramatic verbal exaggeration between brothers that held no real legal weight. You can't just casually trade away a multi-generational estate over lunch, right?
You'd think so.
But let's contextualize this with the Nusi texts, which the study notes highlight as a crucial piece of archaeological evidence.
The Nusi texts brilliantly illuminate the legal frameworks of the biblical narrative. They are a collection of ancient documents discovered in Mesopotamia dating back to the 15th century BC.
So the exact region and era we are analyzing.
Yes. They provide a highly detailed look into the legal and social customs. And what they reveal is that the transfer or sale of a birthright was a documented, legally binding practice in the ancient Near East.
The Nineveh notes point out a specific case within the Nusi texts where a man legally trades his inheritance rights to his brother in exchange for 3 sheep.
Which is astonishing enough.
Trading a birthright for a small flock of livestock is wild, but Esau trades his for a single perishable meal.
It underscores the legal reality of Jacob's demand. While Jacob's opportunism is ruthless, the mechanism of the trade itself was recognized by the legal customs of their time.
Jacob knew exactly what he was doing.
And Esau had the agency to refuse a legally binding verbal contract.
But Esau doesn't refuse. He justifies the trade by saying, "Look, I am about to die of starvation. What good is a birthright to me?"
Jacob demands an oath, and Esau swears it.
The text then uses a rapid succession of verbs to describe his actions. He eats, he drinks, he rises, and he goes his way.
The pacing of those verbs in the Hebrew text is entirely intentional. It highlights the profound casualness of the act.
He just walks away.
Esau satiates his immediate physical craving and walks away completely unfazed by the magnitude of what he has just forfeited.
Because he feels no immediate loss.
Right. The birthright is a future reality, while his hunger was a present discomfort.
The study notes offer a deep philosophical breakdown of Esau's mindset here, drawing on a later reference from the book of Hebrews chapter 12.
Yes. The writer of Hebrews categorizes Esau as profane. Genesis concludes the scene by stating thus Esau despised his birthright.
Despised it.
Right. Despising it wasn't just a matter of making a poor economic trade in a moment of weakness. To be profane in this context means to view nothing as sacred.
It is an ideological stance.
It is. It values the material, immediate present over the spiritual long-term future.
He was entirely trapped in the present tense. He looked at a sacred legacy, a legacy tied directly to the covenant of Abraham and the redemption of humanity, and decided that temporary physical relief was worth more.
Exactly that. While the text certainly doesn't praise Jacob's cold, calculating manipulation, it isolates Esau's fundamental flaw, his complete disregard for the sacred.
The narrative presents a stark contrast between Esau's unbridled impulse and Jacob's ruthless ambition.
When we synthesize these insights, the overarching narrative is breathtaking.
It really is. We witness the quiet passing of the torch from Abraham, a giant of faith who meticulously secured his lineage.
We see Isaac enduring a grueling 20-year wait for an heir.
And then the destiny of two nations is permanently altered on a mundane afternoon simply because a man came in from the fields tired and hungry.
The impulsive hunter and the calculating younger brother engage in a legally binding trade that reshapes ancient history.
It is a powerful demonstration of how the grand sweep of history and the fulfillment of divine prophecies frequently hinge on deeply personal, deeply flawed human decisions.
The text forces us to examine character. It exposes the destructive ripple effects of a divided household, but its primary warning is against the profane mindset.
The willingness to mortgage a sacred future for the comfort of the present moment.
Yes.
Which brings us to a final provocative thought for you to mull over as you navigate your own week. It is easy to look back at an ancient text and judge Esau for trading a patriarchal destiny for a bowl of soup.
Very easy.
But in our modern lives, the mechanics of that trade happen all the time. Think about the moments when you are deeply exhausted, stressed, or impatient.
We all have them.
What valuable birthrights, your long-term goals, your ethical integrity, the depth of your relationships, or the legacy you intend to leave behind, are you tempted to trade away?
That's a challenging question.
How often do we quietly sacrifice our highest, most sacred commitments for the modern equivalent of a bowl of red stew? A momentary distraction, a fleeting pleasure, or simply taking the path of least resistance?
It is a question that demands our attention. It is the essential question to take away from this analysis.
I completely agree.
Historical context is fascinating, but the text ultimately asks us to evaluate our own priority.
It certainly does. Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive today. We've explored the close of Abraham's monumental era, the agonizing weight of Isaac, and the fateful, impulsive choice of Esau, all illuminated by the profound annotations of our study sources.
It's been a great discussion.
Thank you so much for joining us and bringing your curiosity to this text. May God bless all listeners.